A simple 1988p Washington quarter, the kind you've spent on coffee. The kind you've handed to a cashier without a second thought. The kind that might be sitting in your change jar right now, and yet, under the right conditions, this ordinary-looking quarter has shocked collectors across America with jaw-dropping value. It's 1988. The Cold War is winding down. Arcades are buzzing. Gas is under $1. And inside the Philadelphia Mint, millions of Washington quarters are being struck for everyday circulation. Nothing special. Just business as usual, but here's the part most people never hear about. In the middle of high-speed production, dies wear down. Machinery shifts. Human error creeps in. And sometimes, something slips through that was never supposed to exist. That's where the story begins, because among the billions of normal 1988p quarters, a microscopic mistake may have created one of the rarest modern Washington quarter varieties ever discovered, and almost nobody noticed, until years later. Picture a seasoned collector at his desk, magnifier in hand, scanning through rolls of old quarters. He's seen thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. But then he spots something strange. A doubling. Not the kind you see with the naked eye. The kind that hides in plain sight, and his heart starts racing. Here's what you need to understand: the 1988p Washington quarter normally shows clean, sharp lettering. On the front, you'll see George Washington's profile, the word Liberty across the top, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date 1988 at the bottom. Just to the right of Washington's ponytail, you'll find the small P mint mark for Philadelphia. That mint mark is critical, but the real secret isn't just the P. It's in the details. Some extremely rare 1988p quarters show what's known as a dramatic double die error. That means during the die creation process, the design was impressed more than once at slightly different angles. The result? Visible doubling in key areas of the coin, and when that doubling is strong, crisp, and verified, collectors go wild. We're talking about serious money. We're talking about auction rooms going silent before the hammer falls. We're talking about a quarter that can command prices reaching into the hundreds of thousands, and in pristine, certified, almost impossible condition. Speculation and private sales have pushed values toward the $1.8 million mark. A quarter. 25 cents, potentially worth nearly $2 million. Now, before you dismiss this as hype, let's get specific. Because if you're serious about finding one, you need to know exactly what to look for. First, check the mint mark. It must be a P. No mint mark. That's not it. A D for Denver. Not this one. Next, examine the word Liberty. On a true double die variety, you'll see clear separation in the letters. Look especially at the L and the B. The edges may appear thickened or slightly shadowed, then move to "In God We Trust." Pay attention to the words, "in God." On rare examples, the doubling is strongest there. It's not machine doubling that looks flat or smeared. True double die has depth. It looks like the letters were stamped twice, and here's where most people make a mistake: they glance. They shrug. They move on. Don't use a magnifier. 10 times magnification is ideal. Rotate the coin under light. Tilt it slowly. Real doubling will catch shadows differently than ordinary wear. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where values explode. If your 1988p quarter is heavily worn, scratched, or dull, it's unlikely to command life-changing money, even with doubling. But if it's uncirculated, if the luster still flashes, if the edges are sharp and the surfaces are clean, you may be holding something extraordinary. Coins graded MS-65, MS-66, or higher by professional services can multiply in value dramatically. And if one of these rare double die examples were discovered in near-perfect MS-68 or beyond, the bidding could become historic. That's how you reach numbers that sound impossible. That's how a quarter turns into $1 million. Let me reset your attention for a second, because here's the truth that keeps collectors up at night. Most rare coins aren't discovered in treasure chests. They're found in pocket change. Every year, ordinary Americans uncover coins worth thousands. Sometimes hundreds of thousands. And once in a great while, something surfaces that changes someone's life forever. the 1988p double die quarter sits in that category of possibility that it's modern enough to still be hiding out there, that it's rare enough to create frenzy, and it's subtle enough to be overlooked. But we're not done yet, that there's another twist. Some 1988 quarters also show repunched mint marks or other minor varieties. While not all are worth fortunes, certain verified errors can add significant value. That tiny p could show slight doubling or misalignment. Under magnification, it may look thicker or slightly shifted. That if you spot anything unusual, do not clean the coin. That I repeat, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Even wiping it with a cloth can leave microscopic scratches that professional graders will see immediately. Instead, place it in a protective holder. Handle it by the edges only. And consider submitting it to a reputable grading service for authentication, because authentication is everything. Without certification, it's just a story. With certification, it becomes history. Now imagine this: you send in your coin. Weeks pass. The package returns. You open it slowly. Inside, sealed in clear plastic, is your quarter, graded high, confirmed as a rare double die variety. Your heart pounds. You check recent auction records. You see numbers climbing higher than you ever imagined. Collectors start calling, bidders compete, and suddenly, that coin you almost spent on groceries is being discussed in terms of $1 million. That it sounds unbelievable, but that's the power of rarity meeting condition. That's the magic of American coinage. The Washington quarter has been part of our daily lives since 1932. It honors the first president of the United States. It passes through gas stations, vending machines, toll booths. It feels ordinary, but sometimes, ordinary hides extraordinary. Let me bring you back one more time. Go grab a 1988p quarter, hold it under a light, check Liberty, check In God We Trust, study the mint mark, look for bold, separated doubling, not flat smearing, but true depth. Ask yourself one simple question, because history shows us this: life-changing coins don't announce themselves. They wait. Quietly. Patiently. In jars. In drawers. In forgotten collections passed down through generations, and every so often, someone curious enough, careful enough, determined enough, discovers the one that everyone else missed. The 1988p Washington quarter is still out there, and the next discovery could belong to someone just like you. So before you spend that quarter, before you roll it up and take it to the bank, take a closer look. You're standing at a checkout counter. The cashier drops a handful of change into your palm. You barely look at it. A quarter. Another quarter. Ordinary. Forgettable. But what if one of those quarters, a 1979 D Washington quarter, was secretly worth $1.9 million, not a fantasy. Not a lottery ticket. A coin struck in Denver, spent on coffee, passed through hundreds of hands, hiding in plain sight for decades. And tonight, you're going to learn exactly how to spot it. The year was 1979. America was wrestling with inflation, gas lines, and uncertainty. The U.S. Mint in Denver was producing millions of Washington quarters for everyday commerce. These coins weren't supposed to be rare. They weren't meant to be special. They were built to circulate. To jingle in pockets. To disappear into parking meters and vending machines. But sometimes, inside the walls of a mint facility, something unusual happens. A tiny misalignment. A wrong metal strip fed into the press. A die that was never meant to touch that planchet. A split-second mechanical mistake that creates a once-in-a-generation rarity, and that's where the mystery begins. Most 1979 D Washington quarters are worth exactly 25 cents. But a microscopic number were struck in ways that defied normal production standards. And those are the coins collectors dream about. Let's slow down and talk about the basics so you know exactly what to look for. First, the date. You need 1979. Not 1969. Not 1997. 1979. Next, the mint mark. Flip the coin over to the front, the obverse, where George Washington's profile faces left. Just to the right of his ponytail, near the bottom of the coin, you should see a small D. That D stands for Denver Mint. No mint mark. That's Philadelphia. And S. That's San Francisco. You want the D. Now here's where things get interesting. The rare and potentially life-changing versions of this coin usually fall into three categories: dramatic mint errors, wrong planchet strikes, and extreme high-grade survivors. Let's start with the most explosive possibility: wrong planchet errors. During the late 1970s, different denominations were being struck on different metal blanks. A quarter is supposed to be struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet weighing about 5.67 grams. But imagine if a 1979 D-quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another coin, perhaps a dime planchet, which is smaller and lighter, or even a foreign planchet. If that happened, the coin would look slightly off. The rim might be incomplete. The design could be cut off near the edges. The weight would be wrong. Instead of 5.67 grams, it might weigh around 2.27 grams if struck on a dime planchet. That difference could turn pocket change into nearly $2 million, and here's the chilling part: most people never weigh their coins, they never check the diameter. They never compare edge reading. They assume a quarter is a quarter. Now let's talk about another heart-racing possibility: double dies and major die errors. Look closely at the word Liberty above Washington's head. Examine the date 1979. Check the motto "In God We Trust." That if you see clear, strong doubling, not blurry machine doubling, but distinct separation in the letters and numbers, you could be looking at a rare double die variety. True double dies show thickness and separation that appear almost like a shadow carved into the metal itself. Under magnification, the difference is undeniable. Collectors pay enormous premiums for dramatic double dies. And when the condition is pristine, we're talking MS67 or higher, the price can skyrocket into territory most people associate with mansions and private jets. $1 million territory, but condition matters more than you might think. It's worth face value. Maybe a small premium, but an example graded MS67 or MS68 by companies like PCGS or NGC. That's a different universe. High-grade quarters from the late 1970s are surprisingly rare because most entered circulation immediately. Finding one with razor-sharp details, blazing luster, no contact marks, and flawless surfaces is incredibly difficult. Turn the coin over to the reverse. The eagle's feathers should be crisp and fully defined. The breast feathers especially. Weakness there can reduce value dramatically. Now pause for a second. Imagine opening an old drawer. Inside, a small plastic bag of coins collected decades ago. You pick up a quarter dated 1979. You see the D. Your heart rate changes. You grab a digital scale. It reads 5.67 grams. Normal 5.0 grams. 2.3 grams. 6.1 grams. Suddenly, you're not holding 25 cents. You're holding a question mark worth thousands, possibly more. And let's not ignore another powerful factor: off-center strikes. If the design is dramatically shifted to one side and part of the coin is blank, yet the date and mint mark are still visible, collectors go wild. The more dramatic the off-center strike, especially 50% or greater, the more intense the demand. Combine that with pristine condition, and now you're in rarer territory. There have been modern Washington quarters with extreme mint errors that brought astonishing prices at auction. When the right error meets the right collector at the right time, the numbers can become surreal. We're talking about life-changing money. The key is knowledge. Most people will never notice these differences. They won't carry a loop. They won't own a scale accurate to 0.01 grams. They won't study strike characteristics. 1979. Confirm the mint mark, small d, on the obverse. Inspect for doubling in Liberty, Indiana. God We Trust, and the date. Look for off-center strikes or partial blank areas. Weigh the coin precisely. 5.67 grams is standard. Measure diameter. It should be 24.26 mm. Examine the edge. Quarters have reeded edges. Any irregularity could indicate an error. Evaluate condition, sharp details, strong luster, minimal marks. If anything seems unusual, do not clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, place it in a protective holder and consult a reputable grading service. Now let's bring this back to reality. But could a rare error, struck under the right circumstances, preserved in exceptional condition, ignite a bidding war among elite collectors? Absolutely. That's the magic of numismatics. History, metal, and human error collide in tiny objects we overlook every day, and somewhere, in a jar, a glove compartment, a forgotten box in the attic, there. Maybe a 1979 D Washington quarter that defies expectations. A coin that survived decades without being scratched. A coin struck on the wrong metal. A coin with dramatic doubling no one noticed. A coin dismissed as spare change, until someone like you takes a closer look. The difference between 25 cents and nearly $2 million isn't luck. It's attention. So tonight, after this video ends, don't scroll past it. Don't forget the date. Don't ignore the mint mark. Check your change, open the drawers, search the old piggy banks, pull out the inherited coin albums, because history has a strange sense of humor. It hides treasure where nobody thinks to look, and sometimes, the smallest details carry the biggest rewards. Not a rare gold coin. Not a century-old treasure locked in a museum. A modern quarter. 25 cents. Still hiding in drawers, jars, glove compartments, and coffee cans all across America. It doesn't look special at first glance. In 1999, the United States launched something historic, the 50-state quarters program. The first 5 states rolled out that year, and one of them was Pennsylvania. Millions of Americans rushed to collect them. Kids filled maps. Grandparents checked change. For the first time in decades, everyday people were hunting coins again. The 1999 Pennsylvania quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Hundreds of millions were produced. On paper, it should be common. Ordinary. Everywhere, but here's where the story changes, because buried within those millions, are mistakes. Tiny minting errors. Rare anomalies. Microscopic details that transform 25 cents into a coin collectors would fight over. And one specific type has shocked the coin world. Imagine pulling out a quarter and noticing something slightly off. Maybe the words look doubled. Maybe the design seems unusually sharp. Maybe the metal shines differently under light. That's not imagination. That's opportunity. Let's slow down and look closely. Turn the coin to the reverse side. You'll see the outline of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Inside the state shape stands the statue of Commonwealth, from atop the Pennsylvania Capitol dome. Around it are the words, virtue, liberty, and independence. The keystone symbol appears below. Now look at the front, the obverse. You'll see George Washington's portrait, redesigned slightly for the state quarter series. Above him reads, United States of America. To the right, In God We Trust. Below, $quarter. And near Washington's ponytail, just to the right, a tiny P mint mark. That P is everything, because certain 1999 Pennsylvania quarters were struck with dramatic doubling errors, known as double dies. On these rare coins, the lettering appears doubled, almost like a shadow. Look closely at United States of America. Look at In God We Trust. Sometimes even the date, 1999, shows separation in the numbers, not machine doubling. True double die, where the design itself was misaligned during die creation. To the untrained eye, it's subtle. To a serious collector, it's electric, and here's where things get intense. High-grade examples of rare error quarters, especially those preserved in near-perfect condition, have sold for thousands, even tens of thousands. When bidding wars erupt and condition is flawless, values can climb into 6 figures. And in the rarest, most dramatic, perfectly preserved cases combined with unique minting anomalies, experts whisper about values approaching $1 million. Yes. $1 million, all from a coin people toss into tip jars, but that's not the only variety you need to watch for. Some 1999 Pennsylvania quarters were struck on experimental planchets, the metal discs used before striking. During the late 1990s, the Mint was testing new metal compositions for the upcoming Sacagawea dollar. A few of those experimental blanks were accidentally fed into quarter presses. A quarter that looks slightly off color, more golden, less silver. Slightly lighter in weight. Sometimes with a smoother edge. If you find a Pennsylvania quarter that doesn't quite look like a normal copper-nickel clad coin, stop, weigh it. A standard quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. If it's significantly lighter, around 5.9 grams, or shows unusual coloration consistent with manganese brass experimental alloys, you could be holding something extraordinary. Collectors pay staggering amounts for confirmed experimental planchet errors. Now pause for a second, think about how many quarters have passed through your hands since 1999. Think about the jars in your house. The old coin rolls tucked in a drawer. The change dish by the door. The inherited collection from a parent or grandparent who saved state quarters when the program first launched. Here's how you protect yourself from missing it. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification. Focus on the lettering. Look for crisp separation lines, not flat, shelf-like doubling, but rounded, distinct secondary impressions. Check the mint mark. It must be A.P. Philadelphia Mint. Or does it still have sharp detail in Washington's hair, clear lines in the Pennsylvania statue, and minimal scratches? Condition matters enormously. Coins graded MS-67 or higher by professional services can skyrocket in value compared to circulated examples. Weigh the coin using a precise digital scale. Even a small difference can signal something rare. Step 5. Never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. If you suspect something unusual, place it in a protective holder and consider professional grading. Here's the emotional truth most people ignore: treasure doesn't always look like treasure. It looks like routine. It looks like spare change. It looks like something you almost overlook because you've seen it 1,000 times, and that's exactly why these coins survive, because people assume they're common. In 1999, when the Pennsylvania quarter first launched, Americans lined up at banks asking for rolls. Many were spent immediately. Some were saved. A tiny fraction left the mint with flaws, tiny minting accidents that slipped past inspectors and into circulation. Those accidents are now legends. Collectors don't just buy metal. They buy stories. They buy rarity. They buy the thrill of owning something that almost no one else has, and when the right buyer meets the right coin, price becomes secondary. That's how ordinary pocket change transforms into $1 million. Let me reset your attention with this. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is paying for gas with a 1999 Pennsylvania quarter that could change their financial future. They don't know it. The cashier doesn't know it. The next customer doesn't know it, but someone eventually will, and when that coin gets discovered, authenticated, graded, and auctioned, the headlines will shock people all over again. You don't need luck. You need awareness. So tonight, open that drawer, pour out the coins on the kitchen table, separate the quarters dated 1999. Look for Pennsylvania, find the P mint mark, slow down, inspect the lettering, check the weight, because hidden among the ordinary could be the extraordinary. A coin born in a year of celebration. A coin struck in Philadelphia. A coin that traveled through hands, cash registers, highways, vending machines, and piggy banks for over 2 decades, waiting for someone patient enough to look closer. And if you find it, if the doubling is bold, if the strike is unusual, if the condition is pristine, don't ignore it. Have it authenticated. Let the experts confirm what your instincts are telling you, because stories like this aren't fantasy. They're happening quietly in the coin world every year, and the next life-changing discovery might not come from a buried chest or a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean. It might come from your spare change. A regular-looking quarter. The kind you've handed to a cashier without thinking twice. The kind rattling around in your car's cup holder. But somewhere out there, one of these coins is different. And that difference could change a life overnight. In 1981, the United States Mint was producing millions of Washington quarters at the Philadelphia Mint. These coins carried the small P mint mark just to the right of George Washington's ponytail. Most were struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, mass-produced, sent into circulation, and spent without ceremony, but something happened during that production year that collectors still whisper about. A rare and nearly impossible minting anomaly occurred on a tiny number of 1981 P quarters. A mistake so subtle that most people would miss it entirely. And yet, in the right condition, with the right error, that coin becomes the stuff of legends. Right now, picture a normal 1981 P quarter in your hand. George Washington facing left. The word liberty above his head. In God we trust to the left. The date 1981 below. And that tiny P mint mark just behind his neck looks ordinary, but here's what separates pocket change from $1 million treasure. First, condition is everything. Most 1981 P quarters you'll find are worn. Scratches, dull surfaces, flattened hair details. Those are common. But the rare examples that bring serious money are in pristine, uncirculated condition. We're talking about coins that never saw the inside of a cash register. Sharp details in Washington's hair. Crisp lettering. No wear on the cheekbone. Original mint luster that flashes under light. Collectors call this mint state 67 or higher. That level alone can push values into the thousands, but that's just the beginning. The real million-dollar story revolves around an ultra-rare transitional or striking anomaly combined with exceptional preservation. In a few documented cases, coins from this era have displayed dramatic errors, off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchet strikes, or missing clad layers exposing a copper core in shocking fashion. Now pause for a moment, imagine flipping over a quarter and seeing something that doesn't look quite right. The eagle on the reverse should be bold, wings spread wide, United States of America above, $quarter below. That's where things get serious. A double die error means the coin's design was imprinted twice slightly offset during the die creation process. On a true double die 1981 p quarter, you may notice doubling in Liberty, in the date, or in God we trust. Not machine doubling. Not a shadow. True separation lines you can see under magnification, and here's how you check. Take a magnifying glass, preferably 10x magnification. Look closely at the word Liberty. Focus on the edges of the letters L and I. If you see distinct doubling that looks like a second impression, not just a blur, that's your first clue. Next, examine the date 1981. Look at the 1s and the 8. Real doubling shows thickness and separation, not flat shelf-like edges. Now let's reset again. Condition plus error is powerful. But there's more. Some 1981 p quarters were accidentally struck on experimental or wrong planchets. A planchet is the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin. If a quarter was struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another metal batch, the weight and color will be slightly off. A normal clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If your 1981 p quarter weighs significantly less or more, you could be holding something extraordinary. Use a precise digital scale. Even a fraction of a gram difference matters. Also check the edge. A standard quarter has a reeded edge with visible copper sandwiched between silver-colored layers. If the edge appears solid silver with no copper stripe, or fully copper, that's a red flag in the best possible way. Collectors have paid staggering amounts for coins with dramatic wrong planchet errors, especially when certified by top grading services. Combine that with near-perfect condition, and suddenly you're not talking about a few $100s. You're talking about life-altering money. Now imagine this scenario. A retired mechanic in his 60s goes through a jar of old coins he saved since the early 80s. He notices one 1981 p quarter looks brighter than the rest. He checks it under a magnifier. He sees unusual doubling. He weighs it. The weight is off by a fraction. He sends it for professional grading. Months later, he gets the call. His ordinary quarter isn't ordinary at all. That's the power of knowledge. The difference between spending a coin and securing $1 million often comes down to awareness. Most people never check. Most people never look closely. But you're here. You're listening. And that already puts you ahead of the crowd. Confirm the date reads 1981 and the mint mark is a small p behind Washington's neck. Examine the condition. Look for no visible wear, strong luster, sharp details in the hair and eagle feathers. Inspect for doubling in Liberty, Indiana God we trust, and the date using 10x magnification. Weigh the coin. It should be exactly 5.67 grams. Any significant deviation could indicate a wrong planchet error. Step 5. Check the edge for unusual coloration or missing clad layers. If your coin passes even one of the rare error indicators in high-grade condition, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Place it in a protective holder and consider professional authentication. Think about how many 1981 quarters were minted. Hundreds of millions. Now think about how many survive in flawless condition with major errors. Maybe a handful. Maybe fewer. Rarity is born from survival, not just production numbers, and that's why certain examples have reached valuations that sound impossible. When elite collectors compete for the finest known specimen of a rare error, prices can skyrocket beyond logic. That's how a simple quarter crosses into the realm of $1 million. A coin worth 25 cents at face value. A coin most people ignore. Yet under the right circumstances, that same piece of metal becomes a symbol of patience, awareness, and reward. You don't need to dig in the ground. You don't need a treasure map. You just need curiosity and a careful eye. Tonight, before you dismiss your spare change, take a closer look. Open that old coffee can. Check that forgotten drawer. Pull out the rolls from the bank and inspect each coin slowly. Life-changing discoveries rarely announce themselves loudly. They hide quietly in ordinary places, and somewhere in America, a 1981 Washington quarter is still waiting to be recognized for what it truly is. A 2017 quarter, the kind you've handed to a cashier without a second thought. But here's what most Americans never realize: sometimes the US Mint makes mistakes. And sometimes, those mistakes quietly slip into circulation. They jingle in change jars. They sit in dresser drawers. They hide in the cup holders of pickup trucks, and once in a generation, one of those mistakes turns into a legend. In 2017, the United States Mint released a special quarter honoring Ellis Island as part of the America the Beautiful series. It was meant to commemorate hope, immigration, and the millions who passed through those historic gates chasing the American dream, but behind the scenes, something unusual happened. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by a small P mint mark, produced millions of these quarters. Most were completely ordinary. Worth exactly 25 cents, but a tiny fraction were struck under rare and mysterious circumstances. Some were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the metal blank used was never meant for a quarter. Some show dramatic off-center strikes, some carry doubling so strong it looks like the design is vibrating, and a handful, just a handful, are believed to have been struck on experimental or transitional metal compositions. Collectors began whispering, error hunters started searching, and then, one discovery changed everything. That a 2017 Ellis Island quarter surfaced with a dramatic mint error, authenticated, graded, and confirmed by professionals, and its valuation stunned the numismatic world. Estimates soared into 6 and 7 figures depending on condition and uniqueness. That's when people started asking a dangerous question: think about how many quarters you've touched since 2017. Here's where it gets serious. If you want to know whether your 2017 Ellis Island quarter could be extraordinary, you must look closely. Not casually. Not under dim kitchen lighting. Carefully. First, flip the coin to the reverse side. You should see a detailed design featuring a young immigrant family approaching Ellis Island, with the Statue of Liberty standing tall in the background. The detail is sharp, emotional, almost cinematic. Now look to the obverse, George Washington's portrait. Just to the right of his ponytail, you'll see the mint mark. You are looking for a clear P. If there is no mint mark, it's from a different facility. If it says D, it's from Denver. But the rare error coins drawing massive attention are Philadelphia strikes, the ones marked with that small but powerful P. Now here's where your pulse should quicken. Check the weight. A standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If yours weighs significantly less or more, especially closer to 5.0 grams or over 6 grams, you could be holding something struck on the wrong planchet. Next, inspect the edges. A normal quarter has visible copper layers sandwiched between nickel cladding. If your coin lacks that copper stripe and appears solid silver in color along the edge, it may have been struck on a different metal blank. That alone can multiply its value dramatically. Now lean in closer. United States of America. Ellis Island. E pluribus unum. Strong double dies can send collectors into bidding wars. These aren't scratches. They're potential mint anomalies, and the most valuable errors are often dramatic and undeniable. Off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, broad strikes with distorted rims, coins struck on dime or nickel planchets, even wrong metal compositions that create an unusual tone or magnetic reaction. Yes, magnetic. Quarters are not supposed to be magnetic. If yours reacts to a magnet even slightly, that's a red flag worth investigating. Now imagine this scenario: you're sitting at your kitchen table, you dump out a jar of loose change, you start checking dates, and then you see it, the Ellis Island design, that small p. Your heart beats a little faster. It sounds impossible, but that's exactly what collectors said before legendary mint errors shattered auction records. Most people will hear about rare coins and shrug. A few will actually check, and among those few, someone will eventually find something extraordinary. Condition also matters. If your coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition, no heavy scratches, no dull wear, sharp details, its value increases exponentially. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale up to MS-70. The closer to perfection, the higher the demand. Imagine combining a rare mint error with near-perfect condition. That's how ordinary change transforms into life-altering money. And remember, error coins are unpredictable. The mint does not announce them. They are discovered quietly, randomly, by observant individuals who pay attention, just like you. Right now, somewhere in America, a 2017 P. Ellis Island quarter is sitting unnoticed. It might be in a cash register, a parking meter return slot, a forgotten piggy bank in a closet. Or your drawer. Collectors are willing to pay staggering sums for unique, authenticated errors because they represent something rare in modern coinage, a break in perfection, a flaw that becomes history, and history sells. The story of Ellis Island itself is about opportunity. Millions arrived with nothing but hope, believing that America offered a chance at transformation. That's the power of numismatics. It's not just metal. It's possibility. So tonight, before you dismiss your pocket change, before you roll up those quarters for the bank, before you overlook that small silver disc stamped 2017, take a closer look. Check the mint mark, check the weight, inspect the edge. Search for doubling, look for off-center strikes, test for unusual metal composition, examine condition, because once a rare error is identified and certified, collectors don't see 25 cents, they see rarity, they see scarcity, they see competition, they see value climbing into six figures, sometimes even approaching $1 million. And while most 2017 P. Ellis Island quarters are completely ordinary, it only takes one extraordinary specimen to change everything. Point 1 coin. Point 1 discovery. Point 1 moment of attention. Just a simple 2004 quarter. The kind you've handed to a cashier 1,000 times without a second thought. But what if one of those quarters, the 2004 P. Texas State quarter, was hiding a secret that could change your life forever? In 2004, the United States Mint released the Texas State Quarter as part of the wildly popular 50 State Quarters program. Millions of Americans collected them. Kids filled blue Whitman folders. Adults stacked rolls in drawers, hoping one day they'd be worth something. Most of them are still worth just 25 cents, but a tiny number of 2004 quarters struck at the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a small P under George Washington's ponytail, were born different in a way that collectors dream about. Different in a way that has driven prices into the realm of $1 million territory under the right circumstances. Now here's where the story gets interesting. The Texas design itself is bold and unforgettable. The outline of the Lone Star State dominates the reverse. A single star marks the capital. A rope encircles the design, symbolizing Texas' proud cattle ranching heritage. The Lone Star State curves along the bottom. It looks ordinary, but certain 2004 P. Texas quarters were struck with dramatic minting errors that transformed them from pocket change into legends. We're talking about rare off-center strikes where the design is visibly shifted, double die errors where the lettering appears doubled under magnification, and even more mysterious, experimental planchet errors where the quarter was struck on the wrong metal blank. Imagine a Texas quarter struck on a nickel planchet, or a quarter missing its copper core layer, appearing silver and wrong to the trained eye. These are the kinds of mint mistakes that ignite bidding wars. Here's your first attention reset, because the difference between 25 cents and life-changing money is often something you can only see with a magnifying glass. Let's break down exactly what to look for. First, check the obverse. That's the front of the coin with George Washington's portrait. Under the words, "In God We Trust," and just to the right of the ponytail ribbon, you'll see a tiny P. That tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. No P, no jackpot. It must have that mint mark. Second, flip it over and examine the reverse design of Texas. Texas 1845 and E pluribus unum. Under magnification, do the letters appear doubled? Not blurry, but distinctly doubled, as if a shadow is hugging each letter. That could indicate a double die error. Third, examine the edges. A normal quarter has a copper-colored stripe sandwiched between two silver-colored layers. If your 2004 Texas quarter appears solid silver without that copper band, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. That's rare. Extremely rare. Fourth, weigh it. A standard quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If your coin is significantly lighter or heavier, that's a red flag, and in the coin world, red flags can mean green money. Here's another attention reset. Picture this: a collector at a small-town coin show buys a roll of state quarters just for fun. He goes home, cracks open the roll, and notices one Texas quarter feels slightly different. Just slightly. He weighs it. It's off. He sends it for professional grading. Weeks later, the grading report comes back confirming a major mint error. That coin sells at auction for a staggering price, because rarity plus condition equals power. If a rare 2004 Texas quarter with a dramatic mint error is preserved in near perfect, uncirculated condition, no scratches, no wear, blazing luster, its value skyrockets. Collectors compete fiercely for top-graded coins, especially those certified by respected grading companies like PCGS or NGC.in. The highest grades, with a unique mint error, the bidding can climb into extraordinary territory. We're not talking about a few $1,000s. We're talking about numbers that make headlines, numbers that make families debt-free, numbers that rewrite retirement plans. And here's the emotional truth most people don't realize: the United States Mint produces billions of coins. Humans run the machines. Humans inspect the dies. Humans make mistakes. And when those mistakes slip through quality control, they become accidental treasures, treasures that enter circulation quietly, treasures that get mixed into laundry, tip jars, gas station tills, and dusty kitchen drawers. Here's another reset: open your coin jar tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Pour it out under a bright light. Separate every 2004 quarter. Then isolate the ones with the P mint mark. Hold each one up. Tilt it. Let the light glide across the surface. Look for doubling in the letters. Look for unusual texture. Look for missing copper on the edge, and if something feels off, trust that instinct. Collectors aged 30 to 70 understand patience. You've lived through market crashes, housing booms, and economic swings. You know that opportunity often hides in overlooked places. This is one of those places. The 2004 Texas state quarter may look like everyday pocket change, but in rare error form and pristine condition, it represents something powerful: the idea that extraordinary value can hide inside ordinary objects. Imagine telling your family that the quarter sitting unnoticed in a drawer for years just sold for an amount approaching $1 million territory. Imagine the disbelief, imagine the freedom. The truth is, not every 2004 Texas quarter is rare. Most are common. But a tiny fraction, the ones with dramatic, verified mint errors in exceptional condition, are the coins serious collectors chase relentlessly. And here's the final reset: somewhere in America right now, someone is about to pay for groceries with a coin that could have changed their life. Don't let that be you. Check the mint mark. Study the lettering. Inspect the edge. Weigh the coin. And if you find something unusual, get it authenticated professionally before you ever sell it, because history has proven again and again that small metal discs can carry enormous value.